Because when you first start on your entrepreneur journey, imposter syndrome can be so real to you, right? Because it's that constant fear that, you're not good enough, that my ideas are not going to be valuable to the people I'm trying to serve, or that I be exposed as someone who is not knowledgeable, someone who is almost like a fraud, right? Close to a lot of our minds, and something that I think a lot of us deal with, that you probably don't know you're dealing with. And that is, how do you overcome imposter syndrome and getting unstuck and truly believing in ourselves? And I kind of wanted to have this episode because it is a piggyback off of the last episode I did when we talked all about building resilience and motivating ourselves on our journey, staying motivated on an entrepreneur journey. And I think this is kind of like a good second episode to that one, because if you ever felt like you were just like faking it till you make it, right? Or you're not good enough, then this episode is definitely for you, because we're going to talk about some of those things of imposter syndrome, feeling unstuck, and how do we overcome them and what strategies we can use to help us deal with them on a daily basis. But let's start off by talking about imposter syndrome. And it is that pesky little voice in our head, right? That tell us that we're frauds. We don't deserve our success and we're not good enough. And that any moment, everyone will find out we are not as capable as they think we are. And I know it sounds familiar because we all deal with it. So you're not alone when it comes to dealing with imposter syndrome. Nearly 70% of people will experience imposter syndrome at some point of their life, at some point in their life. And I thought that was such an amazing statistic, because it let us know that there is a large majority of us that deal with imposter syndrome during our lifetime. And I think when it comes to entrepreneurship, it's even more important. It's even more imperative, because we deal with that so much, and that is so hard to move past it sometimes. Because when you first start on your entrepreneur journey, imposter syndrome can be so real to you, right? Because it's that constant fear that, you're not good enough, that my ideas are not going to be valuable to the people I'm trying to serve, or that I be exposed as someone who is not knowledgeable, someone who is almost like a fraud, right? Who's trying to teach people something, but not really know what I'm talking about. And so that type of feeling can be so paralyzing to you as an entrepreneur. It can be so paralyzing because it can stop you from moving forward to the next steps, right? It can stop you from pushing forward, from being resilient, and it can really hurt your motivation and your mindset. But over time, what I realized by talking to other entrepreneurs, that they learn to recognize these thoughts for what they were, just thoughts. And I thought that was amazing. They're just thoughts. They are not reality. When you recognize the signs of imposter syndrome as just thoughts, then it become a lot more powerful for you, because you're able to battle it and fight it off. Because the one thing I know about myself, because I deal with this myself, is that I am knowledgeable and I do have something to offer. But when you're feeling stuck, when you feeling like you don't know what to do, what's the next step to go, what's the next thing to do, you really doubt yourself. You really doubt yourself. So we have to recognize the signs of being stuck. So let's talk about that feeling of stuck. And we've all been there, where, and I'm so here right now, where you're pushing hard, but it feels like you're just running in place. No matter what you do, you can't seem to make progress. And recognizing when you're stuck is the first step to getting unstuck. And for me, feeling like I'm stuck often looks like I'm procrastinating, right? A lack of motivation, or a constant feeling of overwhelmed. A feeling overwhelmed. And I shared that with you guys in the last solo episode I did, is that I feel overwhelmed at times. So I'm like, God, I have all this stuff I want to do. I have all this stuff I want to get done, but how do I do it? And then when you feel overwhelmed and when you feel like you're stuck and you don't know where to go and what to do, then that's where the lack of motivation comes. That's where you're not resilient. That's where you can't push through because it's too hard to try to push through. And it's like, how do you push through? So that's why I feel like this conversation is important to have with over 70% of us dealing with imposter syndrome. Then it's a real thing. It's not something people just made up. Sometimes people think, oh, imposter syndrome is a term people invented. It really isn't. But when you look at imposter syndrome, what it really is self-doubt. It's self-doubt because as humans, as human beings, if you are a human on this earth, you doubt yourself at times. You doubt your decisions. You doubt which way you're going to turn. If you're going to turn right or left. You doubt directions, even though Google are guiding you through it. So it's like self-doubt and doubting things is just a part of our DNA, is who we are. We doubt stuff. But when we begin to doubt ourselves and begin to doubt our own capabilities and our own knowledge and our own willingness to achieve things, that's where it becomes detrimental to us. That's where it becomes hard on our lives, and we have to figure out a way to move past it. Think about ways to battle imposter syndrome or those feelings of doubt. How do we fight that? So through my research, of course, because once I get a topic in my head, I got to do some research on it. I got to figure out ways to overcome it because it's something that I'm working on, and I know a lot of you out there are working on it too. So I know you're just like me. You want to work on this as well. You want to work on that self-doubt and you want to push over it, right? You want to push it over, move it to the side and move past it so you can really get to a place of confidence. So how do we overcome imposter syndrome? That is the question. So here are a few strategies that have worked for many successful entrepreneurs, and I believe it can work for me and you. And one of the main things they talk about is to refrain from negative thoughts. Because when negative thoughts creep in, they say one of the things you have to do, which I found is so absolutely amazing, which I've been practicing since I found this out, is you need to challenge those thoughts. And I don't think I've ever thought about it that way. I don't think you've ever thought about it that way either. When you ask yourself, is this really true? Is what I'm saying about myself really true? And more often than not, you're going to find out that it's not true. Most of the things that we think about ourselves, most of the things that we think is going to happen is us trying to predict our future. We're trying to predict something, right? That hasn't even happened. And that's what negative thoughts is. Negative thoughts are things that have not even happened, but we're predicting that this is what's going to happen. Or we're saying that this is what's happening when that's not what's happening at all. It's really not happening that way. And so I think that's one of the main things where it's like, we have to understand that those thoughts are just thoughts. And when they creep up, we challenge those thoughts. Is this really true about me? That is a powerful question. You can sit here right now and you can think about all those things you've been thinking about, all those things you've been thinking negatively about. And you could say to yourself, is it really true? Everything that I thought of myself. Is it really true? And you're going to find out that it's not. It's not true. It's just something you thought was going to happen, but it's just a thought. That's that mindset trickery. You know what I mean? That's that mindset trickery that we have to understand that it's just that. It's just a thought. And thoughts can be shifted away, moved away, and they can be changed. And that's the key here. Is it really true? Ask yourself that question as you begin to go throughout your day and, think of all these and begin to have all these negative thoughts creep in. Ask yourself, is this really true about me? And you'll find that it's not. So that was important. That first lesson, that first thing to battle imposter syndrome is an important one. And make sure, I really hope you guys are taking notes. I really do, because that is truly a great one that we all need to know. The next thing they said that we can do is to, seek out mentorship. And they said having a mentor can be so helpful because they can provide a perspective, like a different perspective. They can provide guidance, and they often remind you of how far you've come. And here's the thing about mentors. I think as we get older, because myself, I'm 49, as we get older, we say to ourselves, well, I'm too old for a mentor, right? Some of us think that way. If you're younger, we think mentors are for younger people who want to help guide them through something, where we're like, I'm experienced, I'm older, I've been through a lot in life. Trust me, I can guide myself. When honestly, I don't think there's no age limit to having a mentor. A mentor is just someone who succeeded at something greater than you, someone you respect, someone who has great success in whatever you believe their success is, and someone you feel you can lean on, you can count on, that can pick you up when you're feeling down, that can remind you of who you are and how far you've come. I don't think that expires at any age, to be honest with you. I think we can do that at any age and have a mentor. And I think that's important for each of us to think about. And if it's not a mentor, it could just be someone who really celebrates you, someone who really sees you, someone sees the work you put in, someone who's just a very positive person in your life. And they want to support you through everything you're going through. I think that also can be beneficial and that also can be helpful. So let's just think about it in that term. And then another thing they want us to do, they say another way to battle in that is to celebrate small wins. And I think this is important as well, because for me, I have to practice more what I preach. I tell people, oh, celebrate the wins, celebrate your wins, no matter how small. And I made it one of my goals this year that 2024, I really want to be able to celebrate myself more and not wait for big milestones to happen to celebrate. You want to acknowledge and celebrate small victories along the way, because that motivates you to stay on your journey. It motivates you to stay on your journey. And also, I think it's a part of what helps you build that resilience, right? It helps you build that resilience, because once you see something that you achieve and you're like, man, I just did this, then it helps you keep going. And that's what you want to do. You want to keep going. You want to definitely keep going. So I think it's important that we celebrate those small wins, celebrate the small things that you're doing. You know, I think a good example of this is that a lot of us that want to lose weight, right? We'll be on this whole weight kick and we want to drop weight. And if we don't see massive things happening when it comes to your weight loss journey, then it's like you get so discouraged. Where it's like, celebrate the fact that you stuck to something, celebrate the fact that you're getting up every day and working on this, celebrate the fact that you committed to it. I think those are the things that we need to do in order to see change in our lives, like real change. Positive change. And I think that's important. That's really something that's important, because we don't want to we don't want to set such big goals for ourselves and then we don't achieve them. We get so upset. We get so down on ourselves. We beat ourselves up for it. And that's not how you win. You win by setting small victories, by setting small goals. You have your overarching goal, because I do this myself. I have my overarching goal of what I want to achieve for the year. But in order for me to achieve that high level goal, I still have to have small tasks in between to get there. And I have to celebrate every time I check one of those tasks off. And I have to do that more, because I got to admit, I haven't done that more. And I need to do that more. Another thing that they said that we need to do and we need to learn to do is build self-belief. Self-belief is so crucial. And now that goes back to mindset, what we talked about in my last solo episode about how powerful our mind is and our mindset on how we are, what we do, who we are, right? It's crucial. And so they say a few things that can help you build self-belief. And I want to go through these. And the first one is, which we all know and we all talk about, is positive affirmations. And I think we take that for granted, because we hear people talk about all the time, oh, positive affirmations, say your affirmations daily. You know, everybody's on this affirmation kick. Everybody's on this self-awareness kick. But I don't know if we're taking it as serious as we should, because having those positive affirmations, starting your day off with something positive, like don't grab your phone, don't jump on social media, right? Do something different. Even if your affirmations are on your phone, do that, but don't jump on social media. Don't let the news be the first thing you do. Start your day with something more positive. Remind yourself of your strengths and achievements. That's what you want to do. That's what it is when it comes to building that belief. You want to set those affirmations, because the more we can repeat those things, the more repetitive they become, the stronger we become, the more confident we become in ourselves. And that's what we want. That's key. That is truly key to everything we're trying to do here. And so another thing that they said we should do is, you want to set some realistic goals, achievable goals, and work towards them. And a lot of time, I think we do a disservice to ourselves when we set such large goals for ourselves and then we don't achieve them. That goes back to celebrating your small wins, right? Breaking things down into achievable things that we can do. So set goals that you can really achieve. Don't set a goal that you know. I mean, come on, we really know if we're going to do it or not. But when you set a goal to say, hey, I'm going to send 2 emails a day for sponsorship. That could be me. 2 emails a day to seek partnership. I don't have to say, oh, I'm going to do 10 and 15 emails a day. Well, people say do 30 emails a day. I'm not going to do it. I need to set something that's more realistic that can go with my lifestyle, right? Because when you're busy, if you're busy as a wife and mom, and you got a life and you got kids, you got all this stuff going on, it's hard to intertwine everything. So you have to find ways, one, to balance, but then to set something that's achievable for you. Don't set goals that is just going to be so big that you know you're not going to do them. And this is where you really have to ask yourself. This is where you really have to not ask yourself, but be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself. And don't feel bad about it. If you say all I can do is 1, then just do that. Commit to 1. You know what I tell people when they ask me questions about starting a podcast, and a lot of people are like, oh, it's so hard to be consistent. Yeah, it is. It's hard to be consistent when you're starting a podcast, to keep these episodes going, to record, to be committed to it, to send out episodes. But what I tell people to do, only do what you can. Only do what you can. If you don't commit to saying, oh, I'm going to do a new episode every week, when you know you really can't do it. If you can only do a new episode once a week, then just do once a week. If you can only do a new episode once a month, then do that, but stick to what you say. Set yourself an achievable goal. Do not set yourself a goal so high that you can't even achieve it. And then it's like, oh, and then you're upset. Because we know that those small successes build our confidence. If we're able to do that, those small successes are going to build our confidence. All right, guys, listen, we're going to end it here because we're going to come back and do a part 2 to this on how to overcome imposter syndrome and build true belief in ourselves, because I think it's a conversation that really needs to be had. And I want to get more into these strategies that we can use to really help us overcome imposter syndrome and build more self-belief in ourselves. And so I want to encourage you to make sure you tune in next week for the next episode as we continue to go through these strategies, because I think they're so important for us to understand. They're so important for us to understand how to overcome that imposter syndrome, how to battle those negative thoughts in our minds while we're on this journey of entrepreneurship, while we're on this journey of life, or while we're on this journey of chasing our dreams. We're going to come across a lot of things that are going to fight against everything we set out to do. And we have to have the tools and the resources available to us to battle it on our own. We have to have ways to fight past it if we want to see success, if we want to see greatness, if we want to see everything that we're trying to do become a reality in our lives for us. So make sure you guys tune into the next episode. I am Shaunie Sanders. This is the Girl Take No podcast, and I'll see you in the next episode.